And today's guest is very interesting. She's a therapist and she works with highly sensitive women. So I know some of you are men who might be watching this. So I'm going to say highly sensitive people. Anyway, her name is, here she is, Elizabeth Cush. And we are going to be a highly sensitive person is. And I think probably a lot of people imagine that they're highly sensitive in a good way. So I'm really excited that she's here to talk with us about it because all of us, most of us, I should say, not every single person, because I know there's some lawyers on here too, but are dealing with very difficult exes. And if we are highly sensitive, or what we imagine, I think is highly sensitive people, we are even more triggered. So before you even introduce yourself, Elizabeth, can you just say, what is the difference between a sensitive person and a highly sensitive person?
So we're all sensitive, right? I mean, we all have sensitivities. There are things maybe we're more sensitive to than other people, but being highly sensitive is actually a genetic trait. And so it means we deeply process everything. It means we can get overstimulated pretty easily. We also are emotionally, we have more emotional reactivity or empathy. So we're very deeply attuned to all emotional content, our own and other people's. And we're also extremely sensitive to sensory information. So it could be bright lights or a lot of loud noises or a lot of color. Like all of our senses, we are more attuned to those than like smells, all of that. Yeah. So it's a genetic trait. It's considered to be a neurodivergent aspect. And so it's just part of who we are. But it's important to understand that part of yourself because it can take some, special care in terms of taking care of yourself around that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm writing a couple of things I want to make sure I ask you. But first, how about
Yeah.
you officially introduce yourself? And thanks for that definition because it sparked a couple of things in my brain.
Absolutely. So I'm Elizabeth Cush, or otherwise known as Biz. I'm a therapist. I'm a soul support for highly sensitive women. I have a podcast, Awaken Your Wise Woman, and I'm also a mom of three children and a rescue dachshund. I'm married. Yeah, but I'm also a survivor of domestic violence, so I have that in common with your listeners as well.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, that's, I mean, awful, but helpful for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
So, in the things you were describing, I was thinking about how some kids are very sensitive to the clothing tags. And does that fit too? Is like being physically like uncomfortable? Like one of my kids just was like, rip out all the tags because it's bothering me. And my other kid and me were like, I don't feel
Absolutely. Oh my gosh.
really.
I can remember telling because I am highly sensitive, telling my mom like how to align my socks appropriately and I am very bothered by tags too. But like yes, tactile, just how things feel on our skin is definitely could be a sign of high sensitivity for sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. The other word that came to mind that I learned a few years ago is something called clairsentient. Have you heard of
Mm,
that?
I have, and I'm not 100% sure, yeah, what that
Okay.
means, but yes.
So clairvoyant is, you can read someone else's mind. Clairsentient
Yes,
was a
is
word
reading.
used, yeah, is where almost like you are so sensitive that you
Yes,
pick up on other people in the room's emotions and you feel like they're your own. And I know felt that way where I don't even know what's wrong with me, but being around certain types of energy, I get like extremely uncomfortable.
absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. And I think that um, there are people who just have that as a gift or a burden. But for highly sensitive people, yes, we are always very attuned to other people's emotions, feelings, like reading a room, kind of getting the vibe of when you're in a large group of people. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's absolutely something that can be relevant for highly sensitive people as well.
Yeah, as I was saying that, I thought of another example, and that's as a parent. I feel like if something's happening with my kids, like I feel it more than they do. Like they'll
Hmm.
have something like a breakup or something where they'd be really
Right.
upset, but then I'll be the one in the middle of the night, not even talking to them about it, but being like really worried for them. I don't know if that fits in where you just feel things more deeply, um, even
Absolutely.
when it
Yeah.
comes to other people, not
Yeah.
not yourself.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Well, it's sort of like empathy on overload, right? Like we are feeling so much for the people in our lives, and oftentimes, so with being highly sensitive, if your family was not open to your sensitivities, right? You might have been told you're too much, you're too sensitive, you should stop feeling so much. And so then we also become highly attuned to other people's feelings because we want to make sure we're not being too much. So it's like, how is that person feeling? Am I overstimulating them? Am I being too much? Do I need to tone myself down? So sort of it's more relational in terms of sort of picking up on the feelings of others to know how to regulate myself in a way, if that
Mm.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking, I just was talking to someone yesterday in real life who I met, and she was telling me that she's a child of an alcoholic. And
Yeah.
she was saying that she had always struggled with what you described just now, is feeling like, what do I have to do to make sure that everyone else is okay?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. It's almost, yeah, parentifying children, but also just giving you that sort of um, responsibility to make sure others are feeling fine, right? Like so that the atmosphere feels okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So Elizabeth, I know you work with highly sensitive women. Do you know anything about percentages of women versus men? Are men highly sensitive? Can men be highly sensitive too?
Yep, yep. I think it's pretty, they say 20 to 30% of the population is highly sensitive, and I think it's pretty evenly distributed for men and women. There's
Oh,
also
really?
research that shows that there are animals too. Like it runs true through all of our natural world. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah,
that's
isn't
really
that crazy?
interesting. So, okay, so let's say, do people have any like misconceptions about this? Is it seen as like like I'm a people pleaser, and people think that's negative, or I'm a people
Mm.
pleaser, but it's a good thing? Like, what are misconceptions people have about this?
Well, I think sometimes people think highly sensitive just means like I get angry too easily, or I often I've talked to people who are like, well, my partner is like highly sensitive because he gets pissed off all the time, or he's always aggravated, or they're, whoever, whether it's a man or a woman. And it's like, well, that's not really it. It's that you really feel deeply, but you're also, emotionally attuned. You're also highly empathetic. So there's this sort of almost like an overreactive person could be, people may label them as highly sensitive when maybe they're just unkind, or they are abusive potentially too, right? Like
Mhm.
that they use the, like, I'm so sensitive to help manipulate somebody else or try to manipulate somebody else.
Yeah, as you're saying that, I'm thinking, especially in the world of domestic violence, with those of us who get involved with abusive people, is that often they talk about how they were traumatized as a child. And so we feel
Mm,
bad for them, we feel guilty. And it sounds like a similar thing, like, oh, they're just sensitive, so
yeah,
I have to kind of walk on eggshells to make sure not to set them
exactly.
off.
Right, right, right. When really it's yeah, that's their stuff, right? That they are, yeah, yeah. They need to be working on themselves to manage their own whether they were abused or not. But yeah, and I think for highly sensitive people, like what I personally can identify with is that, like, in a situation where maybe there's conflict or manipulation, whatever it might be, it takes me that much longer to sort of process what's coming in and then
Mhm.
have a response. And
Mm,
so, like, if someone is saying to me, "Oh, well, you're too sensitive. You misread this situation. I didn't really do that to you, but
mhm.
the way you're interpreting it is wrong." It might take me like I might have to be like, okay, wait a minute. I got to step aside. I have to think this through and then be able to be like, no, that wasn't me. I didn't misread it. You really were unkind to me. Right. So I think that can be a struggle for highly sensitive people in relationship, but also the fact that we are so empathetic and deeply emotionally reactive that like we can pick up on how they're feeling and feel bad. Like, oh yeah, you were traumatized. Oh, let me help, minimize my feelings so your feelings aren't hurt.
Yeah, I mean, as you're saying that, I'm thinking number one, uh, a lot of manipulative people are probably very good at igniting our empathy, especially even more so highly sensitive people. And I
Yes.
forgot the second thing, and it'll come back to me in a second. But
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
now I remember. Okay, so that maybe are highly sensitive people more likely to get involved in abusive relationships because they are so empathic?
Well, it definitely can happen. I don't know if they're more likely, but I think sometimes it's harder for highly sensitive people to extricate themselves from an abusive relationship because of the empathy. There's always sort of a, well, they went through these things or they didn't really mean it, they didn't
Mhm.
really, I hear them saying that they really didn't mean to hurt me, but so like I think that and because often highly sensitive people tend to be people pleasers too, because we learned like if I can make other people happy and then I feel more comfortable too, right?
Mhm.
And so that can play a part in it too, just what can I do to make sure you're okay so that I feel okay?
Yeah. So how does somebody know? I mean, you talked about some things with being more sensitive, but how would somebody know? Is there like a checklist or something like, am I highly sensitive? And if I am, then what should I do about it?
Yeah. So Elaine Aron, she was the sort of she spearheaded a lot of the research around highly sensitive people. And so she's got an amazing website. It's hsperson.org. And there's a test you can take there that ask a bunch of questions about, yeah, all the characteristics of highly sensitive people. So you can find out more there. Um, and if you are, just know that even though what we're talking about here is some of the ways that it's really hard, that it can be a difficult challenge in your life, it's also incredibly beautiful because we're such deep feelers. Like being out in nature could bring tears to your eyes, or spending time with a beloved pet or someone you care deeply about really touches us in a way that um, can just fill your heart. And so it's lovely. It can be when you take care of yourself, it can be a gift. It is a gift, I believe.
Hmm. So how do people, like, let's say somebody doesn't know that they're highly sensitive, how would they find you?
Mm. Yeah, so you can find me through, I have two websites. One is for therapy, which I'm licensed in Maryland and Delaware, and that's called progressioncounseling.com. But I'm also at elizabethcush.com, which is my soul support for highly sensitive women. So you can find me there too.
No, actually, Elizabeth, before that part, I meant like, how would somebody even know that
Oh,
someone like you exists? Like, how would I,
oh,
like,
oh,
for the
oh,
people listening,
yes.
like, how would they know that you're someone? Like, tell us a little bit about what what you help people with. Like, what do you do when someone is
Mhm.
highly sensitive? And then also,
Yeah,
I'll have you get into how they can
yeah, yeah,
find you.
yeah,
But like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, like, what can people do in this situation? So, okay, now I know that I am, or maybe I don't,
Hmm.
but how can I
Yeah.
get help? And what is this person going to work with me on?
Yeah, absolutely. So one is validating that the feelings that you're having are yours and real, and if you're feeling overwhelmed all the time, I work with women to help and men to help them manage that sense of overwhelm. Do you need to be taking more time away from, social engagement? Do you need time between work and what happens after work? Do you have to reset yourself so that we can get energetically overwhelmed, but also drained very easily because the sensory information is coming at us. But I think a lot of it is just learning about your specific sensitivities so that you can take care of yourself. So it's sort of bringing that to light in whether it's therapy or coaching. And there's a lot of amazing practitioners out there that are doing this work around high sensitivity and supporting highly sensitive people.
Yeah. Okay. So also, because you said you do have experience with domestic violence, you know, a
Mhm.
lot of people in this audience are dealing with very high conflict exes who are extremely manipulative and especially so in getting under their skin. And a lot of our
Mhm.
clients have some level of PTSD, especially
Yeah.
when it comes to having to communicate, which you have to do when you share children. What are some
Yes.
ideas that a highly sensitive person should have, or things that they should do knowing that they cannot just get away from this person? So even when they can take care of themselves and realize that they're still being so affected.
I know. That is like one of the hardest, it's like, how do you take care of yourself when you're still being impacted by the trauma, right? So,
Mhm.
so it is just validating that that's an incredibly challenging relationship for someone who is highly sensitive because we feel things so deeply, we get overwhelmed easily. And if there is a person that is either narcissistic or manipulative that understands those characteristics, they can poke you pretty easily. So
Mhm.
giving yourself time before and after, whenever you have to deal with them, to really take care of yourself, I find, and I'm not in any kind of relationship issue myself right now. That was a long time ago, but I get that it's like you almost have to mentally prepare yourself and guard yourself, like boundaried. What am
Mhm.
I? How can I really protect myself within this relationship? And it's really challenging if you have kids, if you're co-parenting, just validating how hard it is. I think it's really a huge piece of that.
Yeah. One thing that you keep saying that I feel like is a theme for a highly sensitive person is allowing or forcing yourself to pause before
Mm,
responding. Because,
yeah.
like you said, you need time to process
Yep.
longer. I think that's a healthy thing for anyone to do. And that's something we work on with our clients, is to pause, because that other person is so good at getting under our skin and we just want to react and say things that might even be logical, but often logic doesn't work with difficult people. But to
Yeah.
just pause, like pause and be like, let me understand exactly what's going on. And that can be
Hmm.
really difficult to do in face to face or phone conversations.
Absolutely. But I think you're absolutely right. Pausing, giving yourself permission to pause, even giving yourself, like, I need a minute to just, process what you said, or if you have the ability to say, I need to think this through, I'm going to call you back tomorrow, right? So
Mhm.
you can really, or, see you tomorrow to talk about this because it can feel really hard to have to come up with an answer or a decision or think it through in the moment for people who are deep processors for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is so important because I feel like it's not even just with our exes. It's that people in these situations, especially many of our clients, are in the throes of having to make very important decisions while under tremendous duress, not just from an ex, but like I said, like an attorney or a mediator or
Yes.
anyone who has a part in their case where it's like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Like, you have to think of it. And they're just like, I can't, I don't know. So I know for us, one
Hmm.
of the things we do, because we teach strategic communication, that's a big part of what we do. And we talk about how we put them on the permission slip plan, we call it. We say,
Hmm.
once we teach you this, you can send us drafts of what you think you want to say, but you have to wait for us to get back to you, and then you're going to learn to do this yourself. So there's a pause that's built in, and if our clients agree, and usually they do, to be on this little permission slip plan, they learn how to wait, because we
Yeah.
know in general, like when you don't respond right away, things usually are not as
Yeah.
amplified, and so
Yes.
you can
Yes.
think
Yes.
clearer. So it's like you're forced to have to wait. Like waiting can be a good thing, but especially for highly sensitive people, unless it's an
Absolutely.
emergency.
Yes, yes, emergencies, obviously. Well, because too, like if we are reacting, as you said, like if we're just jumping in, our nervous system is like reacting from that place of stress and distress and maybe our trauma, right? Instead of like giving ourselves a moment to reset, think it through, come at it from our more emotional brain versus our reactive brain. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because when you're emotional, you can't make good decisions.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
So it is so important. Okay. So
Mm,
now is it to tell people again how to
sorry.
actually find, no, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, so I am out there. I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn, I am on YouTube, but yes, you can find me if you just Google Awaken Your Wise Woman. That really connects you to all my stuff. But yeah, so yeah, but yeah, I'm Elizabeth Cush, spelled with a C, not a K, and yeah, that's me.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth. This has been really helpful, I think, because we have many highly sensitive people, men and women, in our community, and they can certainly use help. And I think it's also important to hear you, because you have so much experience with this, reiterate how important it is to take care of yourself
Mm,
and to pause.
yes, yes, yes. Well, thank you, Lisa. I so appreciate your having me on. It's been great.
All right. Let's definitely stay in touch.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye.
Bye.